One of the things that one of my instructors used to do is he used to go airborne in some fairly stiff winds, and it is possible to fly backwards in a Cessna, certainly a 152, which is a fairly slow aircraft. We're in a 172 obviously, but if you look down at the airspeed indicator, the green, yellow and red highlighted instrument, you'll see that we're at 60 knots already. We're sat on the ground, but the wind speed I've put in is 60 knots, dead on the nose. So we're not really going to have to do much before we actually start to fly. So I'm going to add first stage of flap, which will make us even lighter, because the flaps obviously generate lift, or an increased level of lift over the aerofoils compared to normal wings, or unflapped wings I should say. Now you can see the aircraft's bouncing around already. I haven't done anything, I haven't had any throttle in, I haven't got any control changes in, so this is where we're at, just with a 60 knot wind. So let's take the brakes off and let's add some power and see what happens. So we've got 65 knots, and let's just lift the nose at that. We're only doing maybe 10 miles an hour across the ground, so let's get the rudder sorted and get ourselves. So actually we're pretty much only travelling at 20 knots. Now that must obviously be set in as a bit of a crosswind, so let's set ourselves up. Now if you look at the white arc, our flaps, we can actually stay aloft up to, or down I should say, to about 40 knots. So let's see what happens if we reduce our power and try and get ourselves down to about 40 knots. So we're still climbing, which is good. We don't want to be too near the ground. Speed's coming down. Now the speed's below 60, so I'm defeating quite a bit of right rudder now, and we have got some drift coming on. So let's have a look from behind and above and see what's happening. Oh look, we're not moving. Put the left wing down, we're coming back over the centre line of the runway. There we go. Now that's at 60 knots, so let's reduce the power even more. Don't particularly want to climb anymore, and let's get ourselves back. Let's just trim that out a little bit, get a bit of nose high trim going. Now the speed's coming down past 60 now. Oh, thanks for that, Mr. Dash 8. Down to 50 knots. Let's trim up a little bit more so we don't lose too much altitude. We're at 1,000 feet at the moment, so that's down to 50 knots. Just having to maintain a bit of back pressure there to hold that. And hey, there we go, moving backwards. So pretty much we're in a hover now. Let's see where we are in relation to the runway. Let's take some power off. And of course one of the things the aircraft's going to want to do, it's going to want to go down. So we're still at 50 knots. Let's drop the nose, we'll get back to 60 knots, and we'll see how we do at doing a vertical landing in a Cessna 172. So we're going down at about 500 feet a minute. Let's see where we are in relation to the runway. We're not too bad. Yeah, there we go, it's just coming into view. So let's turn us left a little bit. Got a 500 foot rate a minute, 500 foot per minute rate of descent, so that's not too problematic. At 60 knots now, to control the rate of descent, what I need to do actually is add power, so then I can lift the nose and arrest that rate of descent a little. There we go, coming down nicely. Still got 200-300 feet a minute rate of descent. We're actually at 70 knots, so we're cheating a bit. We're moving forwards. And let's see, whoa, there we go. A little bit of drift. And a nice landing there considering the weather. Let's take all the flaps off so we don't bounce back into the air. And yeah, lots of fun to be had messing around with the wind. Flight Simulator's not too bad, so I hope you enjoyed that little snippet.